everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Liz and I post a lot of beauty related content. Now right now every week we are going through my collection, as you know, but if you're a new subscriber, every Monday I go through a different drawer in my collection. So today we are going through, this was like my collab drawer in my old collection, but now it's kind of collabs, big palettes, more collabs. Majority is collabs and big palettes that just don't fit anywhere else. So we'll start down here, and firstly I have, this is so old, like this I got free. It says it's a Pro Looks palette, Big Love Tester. I got it free when something didn't turn up in my order and I've never used it. I actually would love to know what palette this is from. Then we've got my Disney palettes from Revolution. So we've got Cinderella, and they literally just look like a book. So once you open them, so you've got like face pans and you've got eyeshadow pans on the other side. I have done full reviews on all these palettes, so you could just check my channel for those. Then we have Belle, which is Beauty and the Beast. Look at that, ain't it gorgeous? Here it is. Then we have The Princess and the Frog, which is Tiana's palette. I've never actually watched this movie. I just don't watch the newer movies. I stick to the old classics. But this is such a nice, wonderful me palette. I really do like this. Then down here we have the Nightmare Before Christmas palettes. So we have, again, this is another movie I haven't watched, so yeah. We have the Jack palette. I think I'm yet to use. There's one of these palettes I haven't used just yet. Then we've got Sally's, and this is what Sally's looks like. They both are literally just eyeshadow palettes. They're not like the princess ones where you get like half eyeshadow, half face pans. Then we have like the Total Heartbreakers palette here, which I'm yet to use. Like there's so many palettes in my collection I'm yet to use, and I have actually already like planned out my whole month of February, so some of these aren't actually going to get used this month. Then we have the Chocolate Revolution palette. So this is the one that came in that big selection chocolate gift set. It's really nice. I haven't used it yet though. And then we have the Honey Lust palette, which again looks exactly like the box. And this is such a me palette. I love this palette, but I just haven't used it. But I'm sure it would be great. And there's loads of mattes to shimmer in this, which I really like. It's a nice obsession palette. Then we have the Revolution. Now that's what I call makeup palettes. So I have the 2000s, the 90s and the 80s. I literally just wanted these for the sake of having these. So this is the 2000s palette. If you can hear any shouting, as usual, my brother is playing the PS5. Then we have the 90s palette, which I feel like is a bit more me, but look at the front of the packaging. Like you could just get rid of the box, but I feel like they're just a collector's item for me. It's really nice, and I do like these. I should use them, but I feel like for me, again, they're just collectors. And then the 80s palettes, which I'm hoping is very bright. It just looks like this. Then we have Fortune Favors the Brave, which, is it this, which was like their first collab palette where there was a bunch of bloggers that they did it with or something. I can't remember if it was this or if it was, I think it was this one. I think I got this free at some point. Then we've got the Beyond Flawless palette, which is in their old packaging. It's a very neutral mauvey toned palette with a lot of shimmers in there, a lot. Then we've got these three Wild Animal palettes. So you've got Integrity, you've got Courage, and you've got Fierce. These I bought because, remember that YouTuber I spoke about, Wholesome or Holifae? This is why I bought them, because of her. So this is Fierce. I just love animal printed. Anything animal print, absolutely love. So we've got Courage. That is lovely. Absolutely stunning. And Integrity, which is a zebra print. You just see that there's like blue on it and everything. This is more of the colourful palette, which isn't me, but again, these I bought because of the collector in me. And then we have a whole load of these massive palettes. This is a lovely one. These I bought, I think, because of Tammy, so that's Big Love. This one is the Monster Matte, so everything in here should be matte, hopefully. In 2020, they actually, I think it was during lockdown, you know, came out with these, they're basically planet palettes. So we've got Earth and we've got Mars. Mars is lovely, and so is Earth. I absolutely love them. I can't get rid of them. I actually bought them, one of them for £5 off of a sausage. We've got these old palettes. Who remembers these? So like the, what is this? Baked. So this is the cheek palette. I used to use this a lot in my videos. This one is Socialite. This one is really nice. They're 35 palettes. I think they were called like the amplified palettes. They are just gorgeous. I've used a few of them, and then the rest I just got because I did. This was another face palette. I used to absolutely love this blush here. This blush was so good. Look at that. That is a very me blush. Then you've got the Innovation palette. That is again another me palette. Oh my god, this was a dupe for, is it the Ofra palette? Look at that. This shade here, Golden Kiss. Oh my god, did you see that? Is a definite me palette, highlighter. Oh, again, another amplified palette. So this is the Brighter Than My Future one. Again, I bought these because of Tammy, and of course it's got a shimmer brick in there. If you know me, you know I love my shimmer bricks. And we've got some more eyeshadow palettes. So we've got another amplified 35 palette. This is in the shade Smolder. So this is the more of the smoky palette. So if you want me to do videos on these, because I'm sure they still sell them, I don't mind. I just have so much to review. This palette is gorgeous. Look at this. The Defiant palette. I actually waited until they went on offer to get all of them. And then we have the Exhilarate palette. So this is just literally mostly shimmers. And then you've got like a few mattes down the bottom. Oh, and another one of the newer ones. So this is Large It Up. This is another me palette. These are much thinner than the old ones. So there's Large It Up. So like, as you can see, the old palettes are these ones underneath, and these are the newer ones at the top. They're definitely much more thinner. So now that I've showed you this whole little area here, it is time to move on to this area here. So this is literally all the actual like YouTuber collabs. So like Tammy's palette. This was her second palette. It's really, really nice. This is, I think this is people's favorites because it's like very bright, but not my favorite. My favorite is her original palette. This is, it's just my favorite. The other one was called Carnival. This one's called Tropical Paradise. Can you see why it's my favorite? I absolutely love this. And at the time I'm filming this, they've just released a picture saying that there's going to be a collab with Roxy again. And I loved Roxy's, everything Roxy. But yeah, this is Tammy's third collab. So this is her face palette. She's got 3. She's got Deep, Dark, and what was the other one called? I think Deep. And I actually used the Deep one before. I had to get them, like I had to support Tammy. And look at the packaging. Packaging is just so on brand for her. This is really nice. This highlight is so soft, and I just absolutely love that. This is the Deep one, which looks like this. This bronzer was really nice when I'm tan, but now I'm really not tan. Again, the highlighter, they're just gorgeous. They're highlighters that I could get away with. I know not everyone likes a really deep highlight, but I do. Then we've got her Tropical Twilight palette. I absolutely love this palette. This is such a nice palette. I must admit that the pressed glitters are not my favourite, but everything else I absolutely love about that palette. We've got Soph's palette. So her original palette is actually my favourite, I must admit. I hit pan on one of these shades. I haven't used it in a very long time, but this was my favourite palette for work. Absolutely loved it, especially during autumn time. And then you've got her Extra Spice palette, which I feel like was everyone's favourite. Again, I like the originals better. I don't actually think I've used this properly, but it is nice. And we've got Kizu's palette. This one's a really nice palette. It's got a highlight in there as well. but it's pink. And this is what it looks like. Then we've got Belle Jordan's palette, and I really love this. This was like one of the first or second collabs with Obsession, because I know Rady did a collab as well. I really like this palette. Another Obsession collab. This is Rady's dusk palette. I should know the name properly. I did really like these palettes. And this is the Dust palette. Then we've got her Daydream palette. Look how gorgeous the packaging is. Absolutely gorgeous. Then we have her Sunlight and Moonlight highlight palette. Now what's great about this is on one side, so this is the Moonlight highlight palette, and then when you flip it over you have the Sunlight palette. This highlight was a fave of mine for so long because it's like a goldy toned one. Then we move back into Revolution collabs, and this is Imagination's Highlight to the Moon palette. I actually met her. If you watched my last collab video, you would have seen that I got this signed by her. And this is what it looks like. Really do love it. This shade here on the right hand side is so nice, and so is a shade in the corner. They're just proper nice highlights. Not as pigmented as some, but they are really nice. And then we've got her eyeshadow palette. She was actually amazed that I took my palettes for her to sign, because a lot of people were just buying them there. This is what her palette looks like. Then we have Dana's palette. Now I really like this. It came with a lip kit. I've got the lip kit in my lip drawers. This palette's just so different, but I really like how different it is. Very girly, but like lady girly, if that makes sense. And then Seabao has two, so she has the Day to Day and the Night to Night palettes. I love both these palettes. And that is what that palette looks like. Then we've got her Night to Night palette. This is my favorite of the two, and her packaging is just stunning. Like, look at that. And yes, I do keep the top sheets because I like to know the names. Some of them I've lost, but a lot of them I haven't. This one is a very stunning palette. Then we got Rachel Leary's mini palette, the Goddess on the Go one, which is a really nice palette. I know there's a bit of controversy around her from New Year's Eve at the moment, but she does have some really nice makeup palettes. And I do know that Revolution are starting off their collabs, so God knows if she's still got another collab with them. And then Roxy's palette, which we were just talking about her, weren't we? This is her highlight and contour palette. I keep all my collabs together. That's what that looks like. This is such a pretty palette, and the highlight, this one is proper gorgeous. Like proper pigmented. Then we have her Colour Burst palette, which it got mixed reviews. Some people loved it, some people didn't. But her favourite palette for me is the Ride or Die palette, which is just literally your ride or die colours. I used to use this cranberry shade was so nice. Then we have, is this Jack's? Yep, Jack's palette, which was a nice palette, I must admit. You know what annoys me about some people is they do a collab with Revolution, then you never hear about it again. But he literally used this palette to death at one stage, and I really liked it. I love the looks he was doing. We got Kami's Kiss of Fire palette. Was this original? I absolutely love this palette for a sunset eye. It was gorgeous. Hopefully it means that Kami and that are all coming out with new palettes again. And this is his Make Magic palette, which actually I think the last palette was his original. No, this is the, I can't remember, you know. It is gorgeous, this one though. Then we've got Emily Edit's palette. Now I wasn't like too drawn to these palettes. This is the Needs, so this is her little mini one because she's got a giant palette. This palette I got when it was on offer. Like, it wasn't anything that was sticking out to me that I thought, oh, I really need. And then you've got the Pride palette. Again, I bought this as a collector's item, but it's not something that I need. And then we've got Petra. Now this was the start of their like colour books, and look at the colour on the front of that. So like once you open it, there's two sides, which I really like just like their actual colour books. Then we have Petra's contour and highlight palette, which I don't know if I've used this, to be fair. And then we've got her original palette, which again, I love this palette. She's again got it as a colour book. This palette, I'm not going to say the name because I'm going to butcher it. But she calls it a travel friendly makeup palette, and I must admit, it's got the colours you need every day. It's such a nice one. I don't like when they put face pans into their palettes because not everyone can use them. I've got Natalia's one with Revolution Pro. This is the eyeshadow palette. I really like this. I've actually reviewed these. I really like them. They are a bit older than some of the collabs, but they are nice. And then this is her face palette. Again, I don't like when they do face palettes because not everyone gets the chance to use them. And then you've got Emily's big palette, which is the wants. I was more drawn to than the needs. As you can see, it's a very nice palette. I haven't used it, but you know me, I love to collect. Then we've got Rachel Leary's big palette, which is the Ultimate Goddess, which is, I really like this. Some of these colours, like this one, Bronze Glow, is such a nice colour. There. Now we're on to the last little row here. So I have my friends, I have some more massive palettes over here. So this is the Tiffany palette with Makeup Obsession. Such a cute little palette, isn't it? And it's really like unique. Then we have the Friends Limitless Flawless palette, which I have done a review on and really did like. Then we have Patricia's Bright palette. So this is the Rich in Colour one. And I will say it now and I'll say it again. I bought these because of Amber Howe. She always raves about these palettes. I think she actually put them in her 2020 faves. This is what this one looks like. It's very rich in colour. Suits the name perfectly. Then we've got her Rich in Life palette, which is more me because it's more neutral. Again, these are tin packaging, which I really don't like. They're so hard to open. Just looks like this. And more bigger palettes here. So we've got the Friends Car palette. I have reviewed all these Friend palettes. This is the Car palette. This is a really nice palette, I must admit. The Lobster palette, I absolutely love this palette. I didn't believe they were going to be this big. No wonder they were £20, but it is such a nice palette. Sorry, my viewfinder's on the other side, so it's really hard to see if I'm in shot. Then we have the Coffee palette, and I actually like this. It's very bulky though, like proper bulky, but it is a nice palette, and I love that bronzer. This one, and I love that highlight. Then we have the Mirror palette, which is probably my least favorite, I must admit. Once you open it up, you can turn it round and it looks like this. It has got some nice pinks in there, but I must admit the Lobster and the Car are my favorite palettes out of all. Then I've got two of these Friends palettes because I won a Revolution competition. I won 2 sets of all the Friends stuff, and I gave a lot of it away to friends because one was meant for you, one was meant for friends. So I have the Rachel lipstick twice. I've given most of the lipsticks away that I had doubles of. I have Monica's palette here, which is really cute. These are very nice, cute palettes. Rachel's palette, which is my absolute favourite. It just looks like this. This is a very nice neutral palette. And lastly, we have Phoebe's palette, which is nice, but it's tones that I wouldn't reach or gravitate towards. But it is a nice palette. But I must admit, it goes Rachel, Monica, then Phoebe's palettes in order. And that is everything. That is all this drawer, and I really hope you guys have enjoyed it.